There are millions of podcasts being done all over the world that take on the personalities of their creator. Some bring in thousands of listeners each week. Some bring in large amounts of revenue, while others entertain millions and help sell products. If you're like many podcasters, you want to reach your maximum potential. But how? How do you make your podcast stand out from all the rest? Join Dr. Barrett Matthews as he talks to experts who are doing it on The Productive Podcaster. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Productive Podcaster. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I want to welcome you guys. If you're here for the first time, or if you've been here for a while, I still want you to do one thing. I want you to share this with everyone. I want you to let everyone know that you're here on the Productive Podcaster podcast, and make sure everyone subscribes. Make sure they subscribe and download our episodes. We want to grow, and show you how to be a better and more productive podcaster. What this podcast is about is for, just as I said, the podcasters. It's to help people who want to be a podcaster, to show them different ways to go about getting started. It's for people who've been in it for a long time, to show them different ways that they can do to just amp up their podcast a little bit. And that's what we're here for, because I bring on guests and have different guests from different types of podcasts to show you how you can do the same thing yourself. So I like to start off every episode with the segment I like to call Pros and Cons.
Pros and Cons.
Now, you're probably wondering, what is pros and cons? Pros and cons is where I give you, the podcaster or potential podcaster, a pro tip on how to be a productive podcaster. Well, today we're talking about your name, the name of the podcast. Now, I always say, if you're not going to do something clever or catchy, which grabs people's attention, that's one way of naming your podcast. Another way of naming your podcast is a descriptive name. Now, what's a descriptive name, Barrett? Well, a descriptive name is where you, in your title, can tell them what your podcast is about. For instance, if you said, this is the Health and Wellness Podcast, well, guess what? Anyone who sees that title knows exactly what your podcast is about, and they're more than likely to tune in if they're interested in health and wellness. So, another one may be movie talk. Well, guess what? They know you're going to be talking about movies. So it's a good idea in doing that. If you're not going to make something clever or catchy, you can name it something descriptive. So that is this week's pros and cons. So what we're going to do right now is take a quick break, because when I come back, I have one of my, I'm not lying when I say this, one of my favorite people in the entire world as a guest for you guys to hear from. So you get to share one of my favorite people with me. So we'll be right back after this message. Let's face it, you've been talking about starting a podcast for quite some time, but you haven't started yet. Why is that? Could it be that you just don't have the time because your day-to-day keeps you so busy? Or could it be that you don't want to learn all the technical aspects that go into putting together a quality podcast? Well, at Media Boss Club, we take care of that for you. How would you like to have a done-for-you experience? That's right. At Media Boss Club, we build your podcast for you. We will edit your podcast. We will put in the music for you. We even put in commercial breaks that you can put your advertisers in. We will take care of all of the uploading to the great podcast platforms that are out there. That's right, we do everything. All you have to do is just right now go to MediaBossClub.com. That's MediaBossClub.com, and let us handle the heavy lifting for you. Starting a podcast can be a daunting task. There's a lot that goes into it, and you're probably wondering if you're able to handle it. Well, why don't you just take 2 days and let us teach you how to do it at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. That's right. We're going to show you all the aspects of how to start your podcast, how to keep your podcast going, how to attract listeners, and how to make money with your podcast. CreateYourPodcastWeekend.com. Get registered right now. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Productive Podcaster. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews. As I said before the break, I'm going to introduce you guys to one of my favorite people in the world, and you'd be amazed at how quickly she's become that person. But you know what? You may not be once you get to meet her too. So some people have, some people don't. You know what I'm saying? Some people got it, some people don't. This woman has it. Priya Mehta, she has it. She can get just about anyone excited about being alive and moving forward in whatever path they choose. And if not, you'll be excited to be in her presence. I'm telling you the truth. And her podcast, Inhale Courage, Exhale Fear, helps you to get a taste of her. So without any further ado, I'm going to give you a taste of Priya Mehta. Welcome to the Productive Podcast, Priya.
Hey, Barrett, thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be on your show.
It's an honor to have you.
We jived right from the beginning. And
y'all don't, here's the funny
I
thing
always have a great conversation.
Priya and I, we met, and then when this airs, it'll probably be about a year when this actually comes on and you guys get to hear it. But we've only known each other about a year. Now, here's the funny thing about it. We only spent, what, three days together? Yeah, about 3 days.
Three or 4 days on a podcast conference.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days together, and we just instantly just clicked, and we were like having lunch together, going to conferences. We were just hanging together because it's like, man, we just connected. And sometimes you just meet a friend like that, and you're just instant friends right off the bat. And that's my buddy right here. And then she started a podcast, and I'm like, whoa, I gotta look out for my people. So here we are. So Priya, Inhale Courage, Exhale Fear. Tell us about that.
Basically, my podcast is a self-empowerment podcast, and I genuinely believe that every single one of us has hidden gems and talents and strengths within us that have been buried under layers of fear, self-doubt, and societal standards. And I'm here to bring them out, help you dig them out, unravel them, and share them with the world, because I just think that there's so much beauty in every single one of us. And I think the older we get, there's just so much pressure to perform and live life and do all of these other things that we forget that, we're able to make an impact, big or small. And so it's great. It's funny, when we met at a podcast conference last Feb in 2020. And, it was funny because we were talking about there's ideas. And this past year, I actually got furloughed from my position, and I took that opportunity and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this time that I have for myself and create my podcast. And so from that conference, I learned everything I needed to about the equipment and the software and the social media and the networking and everything. And so it's been a wild ride. It's been amazing. I'm still a novice. I still consider myself a rookie, but I just think that, I think all of us want to make a difference, and there are different ways to. So for me, using my voice has always been one of them. And I've had this vision for a while, and I just kind of needed that push to be like, no, you can do it, and anyone can do it.
I love it. See, I know, I don't even have to ask. I know the people out there are feeling your energy. Your energy is so infectious. I love it. Now, here's the thing. I got to say this because I know you. I know that you started your podcast. Some people would say, well, is this some mission that she's on to help the people? I said, no, this is just Priya. This is just who she is. She is just that genuine.
You're absolutely right.
She likes to make people happy around her. And you don't force it. It's just you. It's just who you are. I wish you guys could have seen her at this conference. I really do. But it's amazing. So let me ask you this. Since you said you are a novice at it, we have a lot of people that may listen that are novices too. What challenges did you have that you think other people may run into as well in getting started?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, first off, I think it's even just finding your voice and finding and being your authentic self, because you're right. Like, I am the type of person that's really happy and I like to make people laugh and smile, but then figuring out, how you can go about like, okay, well, that's what I want to do. Now let's figure out, what is my why? Like, why, what are my intentions? How do I want to go about helping people? And kind of finding that outlet to see like, well, what is it through? Is it through your voice? Can it be through art? Can it be through singing? Can it be through videos? Like whatever it is, but believing in yourself is half the battle, because everyone doubts themselves. Even for me, when I'm posting on social media or even about to launch an episode, I'm pacing around the room. I'm like, should I do this? Is this okay? Does anyone care? I don't even know. I don't know what I'm doing. But at the same time, you have to believe that your intentions, what you feel inside, you know, if that makes you happy, and if you're capable of making a difference, you have to get over that fear of you know what I mean? Like there's so much fear of like starting small and failing and making mistakes, and even being a guest on a show, right? Like you're always going to be scared, you're always going to be nervous, but essentially, you know, the way that, well, one of the things is you have to also let curiosity take the way. So if you are curious about something, go and learn about it. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to look dumb, right? Like it's totally cool. It's totally fine if you don't know certain things. And that's why going to a podcast conference or networking with people, asking people, right, putting yourself out there to be like, hey, listen, I'm small time, but I'm here to learn and I'm here to grow. So, you know, getting over the ego and the like, what is everyone going to think? And I don't want to start with nothing. All of that. It's an internal battle that we all play in our minds.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you know, it's funny. You talk about those things, those fears, and someone told me one time that there's a difference between fear and anxiety. And what most of us have is anxiety, because he said to me, he said, fear is a clear and present danger. Anxiety is actually something that you made up. So if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, what if I mess up on this show? It hasn't happened, but you made it up. And you let it stop you from doing things. And a lot of people do that. So I like what Priya said. First of all, she got furloughed from her job and she started her podcast. I hope you guys are listening to that, paying attention to that. She still, that curiosity, she also let it kick in. Now, one thing I know about you is that you are a student, meaning that you study podcasting, you listen to other people's podcasts, you're a sponge on it. Now, we were at Podcast Movement Concert, giving them a plug right now, last year. We were there. Now, can you think of just one thing that you got from that conference that you implemented?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like there's so many things, right? Because there were sessions all day and then there were also networking events at night. But I honestly think meeting different types of people at that conference and talking to them and networking with them, that's actually what gave me the confidence, because I think a lot of people, when they're starting something, they have this notion that like, oh, I need to be Instagram famous. I need to have this amount of followers. I need to like have this status in order to create something.
Right.
And then I was meeting people that are just, you know, I mean, I'm not ordinary people, but just people that are like, hey, you know, actually social media is like one portion of everything. It's actually about the art of podcasting, right? The process of learning about it and meeting people and networking and all of this. And so once I started talking to people about my ideas, and I was like, oh yeah, that was in February. And I was like, I kind of want to launch, you know, in October. People are like, why aren't you launching right now? Right, and I was like, well, you know, I want to plan for it and this and that, I have my own agenda. But all the people were so, all the people were so supportive. Everyone was so supportive. Everyone was like, wait a minute, you have a voice, you have the energy, you have the passion. You can do it. You can do whatever you put your mind through, whatever you put your mind to. And it's like, it doesn't matter how famous you are, because you build and you grow. And so just networking with people and meeting different types of people gave me that confidence to be like, okay, well, and I'm also learning from these people too. So that in itself was just so refreshing, because, you know, in LA, I met you, we were just jiving, throwing ideas back at each other, and just like having those conversations with people really helped me realize that there's like, you don't have to be a certain person. You just create something and you just watch. Success will follow. You just start now.
I love it. And see, one of the things that I hope people are getting here, you see someone with this type of energy, with this type of enthusiasm, yet she still said that she needed to get that confidence. A lot of you out there, you're saying, well, I don't have her energy. I'm not like her. You don't have to be. Because someone with her energy and her enthusiasm still had doubts, but she got the confidence by learning from other people. So I'm encouraging everyone to do that. Now, one thing I'm going to give another plug out here. I need to start getting these people to pay me for this, but I'll give another plug that the app Clubhouse. Priya and I are both on the Clubhouse app now. Unfortunately, at this time, it's only for Apple users. So who knows, later it may come available for Droid users. I hope so. But the thing is, it's a great place to network and to learn from people from any industry. I mean, I put a post on social media last week. I said, Clubhouse is the YouTube for speakers, because there's a Clubhouse on any subject you want. Someone will teach you about it. And Priya and I love that. Priya and I are in different Clubhouse groups that have clubs for podcasting, and we would love to have some of you who are listening join us, because we have a ball in there. But I'm telling you, you learn so much from people, and you talk about friendly environments. Oh my gosh! I mean, were they friendly or what?
So it's interesting. I literally just joined it, I would say, a week ago, and I'm already addicted because
I hear that a lot.
It's a different platform. It's a different platform. It's not like Instagram or Facebook where it's based off of people's pictures and videos. It's just your voice, right? Mm-hmm. So you're just putting your voice out there and your true authentic self, and people can feel it. They can feel the energy in your voice when you're in a room. And so I strongly encourage everyone. And it's not, I think right now it's invite only, but
it's not a pitch fest either, you know? It's not, no one's just, they're not.
Exactly. It's not. Right. You're just kind of being on. You go on the app and you just like, hey, this is who I am and this is what I'm looking for and this is what I can provide. And then you can literally connect with thousands of people even in just one day. You can just join different types of conversations, whether it's women empowerment or like Indian society or whatever it is. It's such a great platform to just network and learn. Learn so much from this app.
You're gonna love it.
I love it already.
There's actually going to be, they're working on adding a recording part, so you can record your sessions. Well, if you can record them, you can turn them into a podcast. How do you like that?
100%. I love that. And it's like different speakers, right? A room full of like, 10 different speakers. Once you're getting all of their inputs and all their opinions, and all their energy.
Do you remember, I'm dating myself a little bit. You remember Justin Guarini from American Idol? I've been in a couple of groups with him.
That's awesome. I've been in groups with Lewis Howes. Phenomenal entrepreneurs and artists and creators. And it's just been amazing. It's one person made this, they made a point. They were like, there's all these artists and entrepreneurs on there that they don't have their like agent on there with them. It's just them, right? You're getting their raw voice, their energy in that time, which is really cool. You don't really miss that.
And if you're looking for podcast guests, bam. I mean, they're right there. The podcast guests are right. Their contact information on Instagram is right there for you. And all you have to do is tell them, hey, I was in a group with you on Clubhouse, and I'd love to see if I just did this week. I'd love to see if you'd like to be on my podcast. It's that simple, but it's amazing.
Love it. And I've even already been asked by a couple people. I've been approached by a couple people saying, hey, we'd love to have you on our podcast and this and that. And I'm looking for guests as well. It's just like,
and that's the thing. And I want to bring this up to the people who are thinking about a podcast. What we're telling you is network. It goes both ways. I mean, I just invited someone on my podcast recently and they said, well, can I have you on mine? It works both ways. See, a lot of people worry about so many things that really they shouldn't be worrying about when it comes to podcasting. You shouldn't be worrying about it. If you network and if you join enough groups, trust me, you will never worry about getting guests, and you won't have to worry about being asked to be a guest on the show. But my thing is that I just encourage everybody to do like Priya does and learn. Just learn because it can be a lot of fun. So let me ask you real quick, the format.
There's a lot to learn.
Yes, there's a lot to learn. So what the format of your show, do just you talking to people, or is there an interview format? How do you do the format of your show?
So there's two different types, right? I have interviews where I bring on artists, entrepreneurs, creators, and I interview them and I just ask them, just questions about, like, I interviewed one of my friends who started her own South Asian beverage company, and then and I interviewed someone who created his own wellness company. And so there's just so many different people that we could learn from. So I have interviews, and I also have my own episodes where I'm just kind of like dishing out something, where if it's a life lesson that I've learned or a story or any kind of inspiration out there. So there's a mix of the two. So I have my solo episodes, and then I have interviews as well.
Right. I love it. And I asked you that question because I want everyone to see you don't have to do anything a cookie cutter way. Priya does things her way. And, that's the way I think everybody should just think about this. Like she said earlier, be your authentic self. Be your authentic self. And if you do that, I think you'll be fine. Priya, I want to thank you so much for being on the Productive Podcast today, but I want to have you please let everyone know the name of your podcast again and where they can find you.
Of course. So the name is Inhale Courage, Exhale Fear, and it can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Fantastic.
Priya Mehta, I told you she's one of my favorite people. Now you know why. I love this woman. She's incredible. But hey,
you're one of my favorite people too. And you know what? There's actually one more thing. I was listening on your podcast, and I love that you had this tip where it's like, some people are pressured to set a schedule, right? Like a schedule of when you release episodes, because that's what you've promised your audience. But it's also okay if you don't follow that schedule, because that in itself can create so much pressure. And sometimes a lot of us, if we don't feel it, if we're not feeling it and we don't have the energy to give out, that is perfectly okay, because I'm doing this podcast on my own. I'm writing it, I'm producing it, I'm editing it, I'm interviewing, I'm doing social media. It's all me. So if I have a busy week, or if I'm overwhelmed and I can't follow my schedule, I always feel this pressure. And I listen to your podcast and you're like, that is perfectly okay. And I was like, that is a great tip, because sometimes we feel the need to be like, oh wow, we have to do this. And then we don't produce as well. So then the quality of our work decreases because of that. I listen to your podcast, I love your energy, and it's amazing.
Love that girl. I love her. Y'all just don't know. I love her. She's just one of my favorite people ever. So, but guess what? She's not going anywhere. She's going to stick around for our next segment, which is PodQuest, where we're going to take a question from the audience. So what I want you guys to do is stay tuned, stay right where you are. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of the Productive Podcaster. It's time to be a boss, a media boss. If you're in business for yourself, it's time that you get your message out. And podcasting is the best way to do it. Let us create a done-for-you podcast experience with Media Boss Club. All you have to do is go to MediaBossClub.com and we'll create a done-for-you podcast right now. That's MediaBossClub.com. How are you going to learn everything you need to know about starting a podcast? Well, at the Create Your Podcast Weekend, we put it all in 2 days and help you get your podcast going by next week. That's right, by next week. All you have to do is come to the Create Your Podcast Weekend and let us show you how to get your podcast up and running. We will show you how to attract listeners. We will show you how to get people to pay you for your products and services. What products and services? The products and services we show you how to create, all at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. All you have to do is go to createyourpodcastweekend.com and get registered today. And we have special bonuses. Some of you will even get us to give you the equipment to start your podcast. That's right. We're going to give some of you the podcasting equipment to get started. Go to createyourpodcastweekend.com. That's createyourpodcastweekend.com and get started on your podcast by next week. Hey guys, welcome back to the Productive Podcaster. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I told you Priya Mehta is one of my favorite people, and I'm just happy to have her on. She's welcome to come back anytime she wants. If she just wants to invade someone else's interview, she can do that if she wants to, because she's got it like that with me. Now, we are here to have our our next segment, which is called Podquest. And Priya is going to join me where we're going to take an audience question. And Priya, I'm going to let you answer the question first, and then I'm going to answer it. The person asked, is it okay if I do a podcast with my family? Podcast with my family.
I say absolutely it is. Actually, one of the first interviews I had was with one of my older cousins. He's a radiation oncologist, and he essentially turned his clinic into a dance studio and essentially created this safe space for his patients to jive with music. It's called Making Moves Universal, and it focuses on their emotional and mental health. And so he goes above and beyond and not just treats patients medically, but creates these sessions, these healing sessions, where, you know, he plays different types of music and then he connects with them and just creates this space of empathy and understanding and connection. And he's one of the people that inspired me to go after my dreams. And he was the first interview that I had on my podcast. So I say, yes, if you want to interview family, you should 100% do that.
Well, there you go. And let me tell you, my answer to that is yes as well. As you heard Priya and I mention, we were at a conference, Podcast Movement. And Priya, I'm sure you remember this. There was a guy there who was with his mother, and they do a very, very popular podcast called Talking About Sex with My Mom. And it is hugely popular.
I remember that.
You remember that? Yes. So.
Oh, I remember that. You can't forget that.
Yeah, it doesn't get any closer than that as far as doing something with family. And wow. And it's definitely a popular podcast. So the answer to that question is yes, 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 yes. So Priya, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on the Productive Podcaster. Once again, you are always welcome here. And please, one more time, let them know the name of your podcast and where they can find it.
My podcast is called Inhale Courage, Exhale Fear, and you can find it on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
All right. Thank you once again for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to our podcast now. Inhale Courage, Exhale Fear. Subscribe right now and show her your love. Show her your love for her podcast. Show Priya some love. So right now, guys, we're going to go to our next segment. And our next segment on the Productive Podcast. And you're probably wondering, well, what is that, Barrett? But you're probably wondering first, how can I get my question answered like we just did on Podquest? Well, if you're wondering that, you have to join our Facebook group. Join our Facebook group. What's the Facebook group, Barrett? Well, it's the Productive Podcaster. That's the name of it. So join the Facebook group, and we would love, love, love to have you as part of our tribe. And so we'd love to share that with you. Now, also, I have a part right now where I do called the Podcast Profile. That's where I find a podcast that I like, and I think you all may like it. And it may be the way they do the podcast. It may be the way they put it together, or it may be the content. But this is one I like. It's called God-Centered Success. God-Centered Success by Mia Renee Davies. Mia Renee Davies. God-Centered Success. I like this. I like the subject matter. I love things that are centered around God. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that as well. Now it is time for my giveaway, the Productive Podcaster giveaway. And today I'm giving away a podcast sign. If I can get it up here for you, it's a podcast sign, and this is what you will get: recording in progress. So if you're putting on a podcast, you want some peace and quiet, you can give them this. And this is not plastic and cardboard. It makes some noise here, so it actually is sturdy. You can put that up to make sure you get that. Today goes to Troy Wilkinson. Troy Wilkinson, he actually gets this giveaway going to him. Now, how do you get a giveaway? You're probably wondering that as well. Once again, the Facebook group. Join the Productive Podcaster Facebook group, and you too can be put into our giveaway. So guys, before we sign off, it comes to my favorite part of the show, where I get to give a productivity quote to you to help you to be more productive, not just in your podcast, but in life in general. I want you guys to always make sure that you're doing something productive, that you're doing something that has some meaning, has some substance that can take you to another level. So this one comes from Haresh Sippy, and it says, productivity equals discipline. plus planning plus quality. Our recipe says productivity equals discipline plus planning plus quality. So guys, if you add those all up, you can be productive as well. And I want you all to be productive podcasters. So once again, I want to thank my guest, Priya Mehta, for joining me on The Productive Podcaster. And guys, like I always say, don't just settle for being awesome. Set your goal to all them all and take action, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us on The Productive Podcaster. Be sure to join us next time for another great show. We welcome your engagement, so make sure you participate by joining the Productive Podcaster Facebook group and chime in. Also, share the Productive Podcaster with some of your friends right now. If you have a podcast and you're looking for guests, or if you would like to be a guest on a podcast, join our podcast exchange at www.podcastworlddirectory.com. We'll see you next time.